the juniors are going to have to stay at least 8 feet apart is what we've decided on for those. No high-fiving, no handshaking, no getting close. Those are going to be strictly enforced to keep everyone safe and minimize transfer of anything. So that's where we are on our end of thinking of keeping things safe and moving along. I think we'll dive right into the program. If everyone has a program up in front of them, great. If not, we'll be going through each section at a time. So the main idea and the main goal and objective for the Pinebrook program is we want to develop lifelong golfers, and we want them to facilitate and build friendships while they're here doing that. So having fun, developing golf skills and skills for life is what that program is for and what we're going to be kind of striving for in the program. So like Mike said, I'll be coordinating the junior program with help, of course, from Mike and Wade are gonna help out with all the things in that program. So the memberships, there's not gonna be any lockers available or club storage for this year. So it's gonna be kind of lugging your clubs back and forth, unfortunately. Restrictions on when we can play. If they're playing with primary or spousal members, then juniors can play anytime after 11. If they are not accompanied by primary or spousal members, it's not till after 2 o'clock. With that said, you need to be 12 years old in order to play without supervision. So those are just kind of the restrictions and details. And guests, we'd love that you have a friend come out with you, or parents, or anyone that you can think of. We're just asking, and we're restricting those to 6 times per year that the guests are allowed to join you. So there's some booking guidelines. Mike's going to go through that a little bit at the end. We'll go through the whole brochure, and then we'll leave some time towards the end for any questions that anyone has. So if you have any, you can jot them down to the end. That'd be great. Some junior rules. I think the biggest thing for junior rules is there's a dress code here. So we're just asking that it's not any denim, any cutoff shorts. We need golf shirts, collared shirts, and stuff like that. So I know that ladies have a little bit of a different, either their shirt has a collar and it could be sleeveless, or if it doesn't have a collar, it needs to have sleeves. So that'd be the only difference from guys to girls. So I think the only other one too is the lightning policy's changed a little bit. As you can imagine, we can't have people gathering anywhere. So we do have an automated lightning detection system that catches and warns us of any strikes within a 5-mile radius. It goes off automatically. So normally it was just kind of take shelter where you are, where now we're trying to ask people to come back to the clubhouse and to their vehicles, just so there's no gathering in place. So that'll be a little bit different. Still looking to fix ball markers and divots. The only difference is we're not going to have any rakes in the sand. So for instance, if your ball's in the sand, it's just going to be a little bit of a foot rake to clean it up for the next player. Okay. Page 4 was just a kind of a junior golf pathway to get an idea of where your junior fits in. So there's an age group across the top, and then a skill along the other axis, and you can just kind of line up and see what's available for you. It does have that 5 to 7-year-old postponed for now, but junior night's still available for everyone. It's just, again, anything that's group lesson related that's on postponement for some younger kids. Okay, we're jumping right in. So that swing into spring, again, that's a fun way to start the year off. It's for all skill levels. It's not necessarily just for someone who hasn't golfed before. It really is all inclusive, with a bigger emphasis on fun and camaraderie and learning in that environment. So there's other lessons for someone who's more advanced and looking for advanced lessons. That being said, it's not strictly for beginners. It's inclusive to everyone. So we came up with the strategy of having 3 days where we could spread out those lessons rather than just having it one day. So there's an afternoon session on Sundays for 4 weeks, starting on the 31st. And then there's a session on Mondays in the mornings, starting on June 1st for 4 weeks. And then the third session's on Wednesday evenings, starting June 3rd for 4 weeks. That'll be Wade and myself are going to be administering those lessons for those groups. The signups are all available online. Like I said, Mike's going to go through at the end of all this and show us how to navigate the website and event sign up. So those are all live. Kind of added more summer camps. So it's going to be a week long. So every day of the week, Monday to Friday, and it's either a 2-hour-a-day camp, a 4-hour-a-day camp, or an 8-hour all-day camp. So there's 2 sessions for the 2-hour camp, 2 for the 4-hour camp, and then just 1 all-day week-long one. And those are going to start really. They're going to be starting in July is when those will begin. So those signups are not quite up yet. They will be within. We'll have all the signups ready for the juniors by the end of next week. We'll have all those signups ready. So again, that's for Wade and myself. There are certain age groups that we've kind of seen that work well for 2-hour camps, 4-hour camps, and all-day camps. So you'll see that some age groups in there. We did also add a junior girls social club. So the thinking behind that and what that is just a great evening for junior girl golfers to get together with Shelly. It's more of a social night with golf in it. It's not a lesson. It's just really an evening where girls can get together and make friends and hang out at the golf course. You know, there'd be things that we've thought of, or bringing in guest speakers to talk about how they got into golf, why they got into golf, some college golfers and how they got into there. Just fun things like a junior girls horse race. We were going to see if Rupert could show us how to create one of his famous dishes. Things like that, where it's more of a social as opposed to just strictly golf. So we're hoping, again, that that's just postponed for a little bit until we can get an idea of how to get groups together. The other part that was new was a junior boys and junior girls match play, which was exciting. It's going to be a 9-hole match play. Only thing we ask is that if you're signing up for that, is that you have a RCGA handicap or Golf Canada handicap, and that you can play 9 holes without supervision, because there might be times where you've set up a match with somebody and maybe your parents can't be there. So it's for people who have a handicap and that can play 9 holes without being supervised. So we're hoping everyone signs up for that. That'll be a season long, hoping to start that kind of middle of June with all the signups, get the bracket out, and then go from there. The matches we played on Thursdays, that would allow people not having to schedule times. It's a Thursday matches when the junior night's on, and you don't necessarily have to book a tee time because it's already booked for you on those junior nights. So, okay, moving along. Pinebrook Performance Program was an addition to and adding on the levels program that's existed for a few years before. The thinking behind that was, again, trying to create golf and having people think of golf like they would hockey or soccer, where you're in a group setting learning, and it's more than just once in a while, that it's a scheduled twice a week group learning area where people can get together. So it was just building on the levels. Levels was great. It had that. This was just learning to get together and be there more than just once in a while. It's golf needs to be like every other sport where you're here often and doing it often in order to get better and succeed. So there's two main sections of that, with a third section that I'll get to in a minute. But the junior skill development, it's really for juniors that are 8 to 12 years old, that are looking for a more complete, structured, season-long coaching instructional program. So that's really what that is. It's for juniors 8 to 12. We're going to see each other twice a week, and just keep building and having fun together. The next group is intermediate skill development, and that's 12 years old to 16-year-old. And the exact same thing is we want to be together 2 days a week, building and learning together, succeeding together. The hope is that you start off into the junior skill development and you're there for a few years, and then we as instructors, between me, Mike and Wade and Shelley, discuss with the junior and their parents is when's a good time to move up to the intermediate development team. And so it's just giving the students and juniors a pathway to get better is really what that is. So those two skill development areas then leads into the high performance coaching that Mike is going to be leading, and Mike can talk more about that now that we're on that topic. So I'm going to pass that over to Mike.
Okay, can you hear me all right, Reed?
Yep.
Okay, guys, so sorry for the video. I'm set up to share some things on the computer screen later. Just one thing to clarify before we get into the coaching is the actual instructional pathway is, group lessons. It's what Reed has so far described. And then at some point, juniors get to a point where they're probably taking private lessons if they're, competitive players. Certainly 16, 17, 18-year-old players are probably in private. So the high performance coaching is separate from an instructional pathway. It's coaching that focuses on non-technical stuff. It's how to get around the golf course, how to practice, pre-shot routines, mental game stuff, basically stuff that you can be working with coaches, with a lesson program, whatever you already have going, and still be able to be in this program and learn things that aren't traditionally taught in your normal instructor settings. So there's quite a lot of detail for those that are interested. If you can click on the link there. And it's so much detail, I don't want to go into too much of that here. Just the things that are going to be adjusted because of the COVID situation. There's outlined in the program, there's a practice session that's happening once a week where the whole group meets up together. And that's just not possible now with basically because the driving range is now booked place by place. So, we'd have to book the entire range. And also I just can't get, 10, 12, 13 kids, whatever it ends up being, all together for a group sort of coaching session. So I'm going to replace that with, there's going to be information that goes out for the week on Sundays, which is the content will be provided. On Mondays evening, it'll be presented. So depending on how many people, it'll either be a Zoom call or it'll be a video posted on possibly a Google Classroom or something like that. It'll be figured out by the end of the week. So we'll be starting this program next week, a week from Monday. And then because we can't do as much one-on-one or group coaching setting, we'll be setting up 20-minute meetings that can be done with the coach and the family to answer any questions from the topics that are given out each week and to adjust the practice plans that we're developing throughout the season. So that, along with the couple things that I will be able to do are be on the golf course with the kids, which will be for approximately 45 minutes to an hour of one-on-one on-course coaching per month with each kid. And on those days, that's typically going to be run before junior night. We're going to have supervised warm-ups, going into playing sessions, and then I'll be out on the course doing like on-course coaching. And that'll be like twice a month kind of thing. And then the other junior nights, the play days, will be where the kids can go out and compete. So that's the difference that we'll have to make as an adjustment for the first little bit here. And we're going to get this program going next week. So anyone that's interested in doing the coaching program needs to email me as soon as possible. I'll be sending out a questionnaire. We're going to have to decide whether you're sort of at the appropriate level to get into this program. So you'll either be accepted right away, or else we'll probably potentially have to have a meeting with you and the family kind of thing. There just needs to be a certain amount of technical aptitude in place before we can do this coaching type of program. And then we'll get everyone notified by Saturday of this week. And we'll start getting the program out on Sunday so that the kids have work to do starting on Monday next week. So that is sort of how we're going to have to adjust this program for this year. Just dates to remember are we're going to start June 1st, and to email me if you're interested as of this afternoon. Is that clear?
Yeah. I think if I could just add one thing, would just be that that high performance coaching it's not necessarily a lesson program like Mike was talking about. It's really students get to a certain point in their golf career where just strictly lessons on the driving range isn't enough, and that it needs to be more. And that's what this coaching program is it's not necessarily lessons, it's mental stuff. It's how to prepare yourself for the golf course that you're playing with the shot shape that you have as a golfer. So it's not really a lesson program, as it, like Mike said, it's supplemental to the intermediate skill development, or supplemental to individual lessons that you're taking with Mike. So yeah.
So and just there will be a portion of kids that are in the coaching program that are in the intermediate skill development, and there'll be a portion of kids that work with me or one of the other pros here, and there'll be a portion of kids that already work with coaches from around the city.
Right. Right. Okay, thanks, Mike. The next few pages is just the event schedule. Doing the Zoom meeting. Junior night's going to start when the golf course opens up in June here. Those swing in the spring lessons, again, are going to be, like Mike said, are going to start kind of next week, if you will. So you can either email us to sign up for it, call the shop to sign up for it, or they are on the activities, on the events module to sign up for. Pinebrook Performance Program is going to get going next week. The match play, again, won't get going until the golf course is open. So that's most of it. Club Champs still is on the list here, so that's still a go as far as we're concerned. Things are fluid and can change, as we know, so that's where we are. And then back to junior night. If Mike wants to, Mike, do you want to touch a little bit on junior night again?
Yeah, for sure. So junior night is basically a time that the golf course is booked strictly for junior tee times, junior use. That has traditionally been starting at 5 or 5:30 on Thursday nights. We're going to try to get her going at 5 o'clock this year. Just it depends on demand, but we think we'll have the demand this year. We've broken it up a little bit this year, so the competitive kids are going to be going off first at junior night, and that's going to be the high performance program kids, and then the rest of junior night will be more of a social experience. So we thought that the serious kids can get out there and do their thing, and there's a lot of people here that prefer to get out with friends and not worry about grinding out scores and practicing really hard and stuff like that. So the second half, or I guess basically after those first few groups of kids get out, there'll be a very social, easygoing, community-based junior night going. The $4 milkshakes will be back in action on junior night, and I think that's really it. Just basically the separation of the more competitive kids and the more social kids for this year.
Okay, all right. Thanks, Mike. So Calgary Junior League has been canceled, not postponed. It's canceled. Same with the junior boys and girls interclubs have both been canceled for the season as well. Mike's going to be your source if you're looking into playing tournaments and wanting to get some more information on tournament golf around the city. I know they've canceled a bunch of stuff already, so I don't know exactly how many tournaments are still going ahead. But Mike's a great resource for if you need anything answered on Maple Leaf Junior Tour or Alberta Golf. So
yeah, I'll touch on that real quick, Reed. Typically how this works is when kids first start playing in the mini tours and the provincial and national and stuff like that, there's a lot for parents to look at. So I put everything into a calendar, a master calendar, and then the families can come and sit down with me. They usually have a very good idea of how it works after one season. So if you're at a point where you're still not clear on how to, which levels to sign your kids up for tournaments and all that kind of stuff, just email me, come and sit down with me, and I'll help you do the whole thing. And even if it's the second year and you're just not clear on everything, we can redo that. But like I said, most of the time after a year or two, the parents learn how to go through and do all that scheduling with everyone. So I'm here if you need me, even if you've done it before.
Okay. Thanks, Mike. That was the majority of the brochure, and really the main things that we needed to touch on. We've talked about. I think maybe now's a great time to field any questions people have about the brochure or just the golf in general. So maybe we can open the floor up to some questions, just knowing that after the questions, we're going to have Mike take us through how to navigate the website, sign up for things, tee times, and all that again, just as a refresher. So, but if anyone has any questions or anything that they'd love to share.
One question, sorry.
Yeah.
For after the kids are done playing their round, where would you expect them to sort of go to if they've been dropped off and they're waiting to get picked up? Just in the parking lot, or?
I think that's a great question. Definitely something we had talked about a little bit, just didn't get anywhere with an answer. So I think that's something we need to get an answer for and email people back of where's the best place for juniors hanging out when they're waiting to be picked up. I'm going to write that down and connect again with Shelly and get that answer. Because yeah, being outside isn't always available, right? So it might be raining or cold, or it might be more than 10 minutes till they get picked up.
Yeah, and the kids are welcome to, after their rounds, sort of a tradition at Pinebrook is for the kids to head down to the halfway house and grab their milkshake if they haven't done so already. So if they want to finish their round, head down to the halfway house and grab a milkshake, as long as they're social distancing around there. Hopefully that can kind of line up with a pickup time, assuming that the weather's acceptable.
We'll come up with a place that if they're not looking to go down to the range and they're just finishing their round on a Monday afternoon, where can they hang out so that the parents know that they're safe and that they're out of the weather. And so, yeah, we'll get that answer to you. Okay.
Did you say the sign up for summer camps will be around next week?
Yeah, we're hoping to have everything junior available. I know talking with Shelly and Mike is that I think they had events that were happening didn't go up until maybe a month before, but I think things are different now. I think we need to get all the things available for people to sign up so they can plan their lives a little bit. So that's my hope, is to have all the junior events ready for sign up by the end of next week at the latest.
Thanks, Reed.
Okay. Well, yeah, I think like Mike said, if there's not any more questions, maybe we'll just move straight into how to navigate the website, how to sign up for things, and how to make tea times. So Mike's gonna share his screen with everyone here.
Okay, guys. So you can see the Pinebrook homepage right now.
Yep.
Good, you on there? Okay.
Yep.
Need to find my mouse. Okay. So we have, obviously, for those of you that have been here this season, you know that the practice facility is now being booked kind of like a tee sheet. So that is under activities reservation. Okay, so when you get into here, the first one that comes up is club fitting, practice area. All right, so this is what the tee sheet looks like today. You can't book the day of. You have to call the pro shop to make any adjustments to that. And then you can book 2 days in advance. We'll go to tomorrow on here. You can just click on any of these cells. Driving range has 12 spots available that you can book into. And then there's 2 chipping, 1 chipping and sand, 2 putting, and 1 putting and chipping. So you guys are welcome to book 1 driving range spot, 1 chipping spot, and 1 putting spot per day. You cannot at this point book multiple of driving range spots in a day. Okay, so you're just going to click on whatever time you want and create the reservation and save. Okay, so your name's automatically going to populate in there. You're just going to have to save. So I've clicked on a specific stall at a specific time, and that'll put you in, and then you'll get a email confirming your booking. For tee times, when they open, that's going to be going from the home page. Okay, so that's this big logo right dead center here. So that's the same type of system, but you're basically gonna, once the course is open, you're just gonna book directly in there. Events, okay, there's an event registration tab on the right-hand side. You can click there and it's gonna ask you what kind of events you're signing up for. So for juniors, you'd go into juniors. Okay, it's gonna load. Then there's a calendar that pops up. So we can find red down here. So if you're looking to sign up for the Sunday swing into spring lessons, you're gonna find that first one. View details. Okay, and then you're just gonna create the reservation. It's gonna ask you some questions, and then it will pop up in your bookings. Okay, so I'm not able to register for junior lessons, but I want to show you guys, if you have a booking and you're gonna cancel it, you don't need to call the pro shop, and you don't go to the tee sheet or to the activities sheets that I just showed you. You're gonna go into, where is it? To your My Account. And at the top here, there's My Bookings. Okay, so when you go into there, I don't have any reservations, but if I had a time booked on the driving range, my reservation would show up, or if I had a tee time booked, and you just open up the reservation that you want to cancel, and then there'll be a garbage bin beside it, and you can cancel it yourself. But it's just through a different It's through a different link than the activities module or the tee sheet. Okay, so you just need to find your bookings and then cancel it that way. So that's kind of the basics of our website, and I'll take you guys to, you can find the handicap link on our website, or you can go to Golf Canada, or you can have the app on your phone, which is probably the most convenient way to do it. But we encourage all the juniors to start keeping handicaps. It's just a lot simpler if there's any kind of tournaments that they need to enter around the club. It's basically, most junior tournaments have a net scoring element which uses your handicap, and we need you guys to have a handicap to get prizes. Okay, so unless you're really beginners, please just use this. Doesn't matter what your handicap is, we just want to know. So if you go through the Pinebrook website, you get this screen that's in front of you now. So you can put your Golf Canada ID, you can look up your name. I would say this is not the most efficient way to do it. If you go to golfcanada.ca, I believe, then you can get through this and do it a little bit smoother, in my opinion. So I'm just on Golf Canada, is it .com or, anyways, I can't see it here. Is it .com or .ca, Reed?
I'm thinking I see a CA at the end.
Okay, so golfcanada.ca. And then here's the screen once you guys log in. Your handicaps will be, everyone gets a handicap account with their membership at Pinebrook. They'll all be activated before the course opens for juniors. If you need to use it right now and it's not activated, please just email Reed or myself and we'll get it up and running for you. But here's your home page. Okay, so you're gonna post a score here. Okay, so then you're gonna choose the golf course setup that you played. Okay, so the date that you played first. Pinebrook has, well, we have quite a few different tee combinations, so you guys need to pay attention to this. After you do it a couple times, if you play the same tees all the time, it will default to your common tees. But definitely if you guys are changing your tees that you're playing, make sure you go in here because and adjust it to whichever ones you played that day, because there's a different course rating depending on which ones you played. Okay, if it's a tournament score, make sure you put that in here. If you played alone, and if you're tracking stats as well. So this will ask you for hole by hole, or you can do totals. And then once you put the information in, you just put post score. After you have 5 scores in, it will provide you with 5 18-hole scores. It will provide you with a handicap, and then I think 10 scores is what it needs to be fully calculated like everyone else's. And I think that's pretty much
Mike, I'm just going to interject just
Yeah.
half a second. Just with a couple of things with the new World Handicap system. It's imperative that you enter your score that day. And the reason is because there are now playing condition adjustments that will automatically be done based on if there's bad weather, that sort of stuff. So it's really important to make sure that you enter your scores right after you play, so that those automatic adjustments will naturally occur based on the scoring of that day as per the conditions. And if you don't, and you know, then it takes like somebody from administrator standpoint to go in and override the adjustment that will happen based on the day. So for you guys that have been kind of looking at the World Handicap changes, that is a big one, is to make sure that you enter right away, because there will be automatic adjustments that occur based on playing conditions. Number 2, it is valuable information if you do enter your score hole by hole. So a couple of things that does for you is that the equitable stroke control has changed. So rather than you trying to figure out what holes do I not get strokes on, or do I have to take strokes off to enter, if you enter your scores hole by hole, that is done automatically for you. And you don't have to even think about what you need to reduce from an equitable stroke per hole situation. The other thing it does for us is which is really going to be important for Pinebrook, is that it really is going to allow us to get really accurate course, or not course rating, but hole ratings. So that when we start to learn how to play the new Pinebrook, and that's going to be one of the things that we do as we launch our new golf course, is some of the holes are not going to be play the same as they have before. So their difficulty level could change. And what really helps us determine that is gathering data from the different demographic groups, and finding what scoring averages are on those holes that really determine its real playing difficulty is why that data is so important. So just a couple of things there, just to, that you might not have done in the past, because it never really was that important, but some changes with the World Handicap System that kind of moving forward will be benefit for you, benefit for Pinebrook, and sort of a data that we collect on difficulty of holes, that sort of stuff. Yeah, and actually, just to correct Mike a little bit, it's going to be 3 scores that are going to be, you'll be able to have a handicap assigned to you after three scores now, not 5. So
Yes.
that's it.
Okay, so basically, Shell, you're saying that they put in their scores hole by hole. That's going to help Pinebrook establish its new course rating?
Not the course rating, but the rating of each hole. So the difficulty level, right? So which hole is going to be ranked number 1, meaning which hole is going to be the hardest on the golf course. And, so where you're going to get your handicap strokes, that's the information that can change as a course evolves. And the more we have that information, then we can actually, rather than us guessing as to which hole might be playing the hardest, we'll have hard data that will help us determine that.
Okay, guys, so please fill out hole by hole scores for us.
Mm-hmm. All right. Okay, thanks. I don't know if there's anything else to touch on. I think the only thing would be if we were to go back to the swing into spring lessons. The Sundays is starting around 2 o'clock. The Mondays is around 9 a.m. and the Wednesdays is around 4, which again will be changing, or it'll stay the same depending on how many people sign up and how many groups of people at that time we need. So I think that's it. Is there any other questions that maybe came up while we were talking? Maybe we'll just give it another minute here and see if anything comes up. No. Okay.
Reed?
Yeah.
Just 2 questions on the junior bookings. If you can just go over the times again when juniors can book without a primary member. And then also a second question on junior night. Are guests allowed with juniors at all? Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm just going to flip open to that page. Yeah, so if the juniors are playing with a primary or spousal member, it's after 11. Anything before that, no go. If they're playing on their own, which means that they're over 12 years old, then it's after 2 o'clock. Those are on weekend and holiday times. I think maybe that's why I left out, sorry. Those are for the weekends and holidays, are those times. And then the second question, I just forgot.
The second question was junior night. Are guests allowed on junior night? And then I'll go back to the first question as well. Then, so weekdays, juniors can play at any time and book without a primary member?
Shelly, are you still around?
Sure. Yeah. So essentially what happens is they can, they can essentially play, the ability to play and request a time anytime that there's not a restriction, like say with a league or that sort of thing. So obviously Tuesdays are a tough day to play because we have ladies' day in the morning, we have men's night in the afternoon. So that's kind of a day that's a little trickier to get on the golf course as a junior. I'm just going to back up just a little bit, and I'm going to talk that about our balloting system. I jumped in late, Reed, so I'm not too sure if you've covered this already.
No.
You cover the balloting system a little bit. I think it's important for those that are new to kind of understand how that works. So we at Pinebrook ballot 7 days. So what occurs is that the members are allowed to submit a ballot up to 7 days ahead of schedule. It doesn't mean you have to book a request time 7 days. It means that's the earliest you can book. What happens when we run the ballots is the lottery will be drawn 2 days prior to the actual day of play. And those tee times will be released no later than noon 2 days prior as to what you actually get. So when a junior submits a request time for a ballot, they won't get confirmation as to what actual tee time they get until that ballot is released. So we allocate times based on priority, based on member classification. At Pinebrook, the majority of where it's most noticeable would be obviously weekend prime times like Friday afternoons. Often the juniors play later and that sort of stuff just because of the way the priority system works. The points that are allocated to different member groups, and then that's how is determined what tee time you'll actually get. So for example, on the weekends, a primary member and a junior cannot play before 11, which basically means the ballot system won't let you even request a time prior to 11. What may actually happen is that you may get drawn even though you requested 11, you might get drawn at 3:45. And that is just strictly because based on the demand for play that day, that's the earliest after all the other priorities were put in the pecking order where that spit out. Okay, just so that everybody has a little bit of awareness there. So it's not uncommon for you to want to put in a ballot with as close to 11 as possible, but don't be alarmed if, especially on Saturdays, because I can tell you Saturdays are very busy, high demand day with a lot of primary only groups. What happens is you might not get drawn till 1 or 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Now, as soon as you add guests to that ballot, that's going to bump you even further down. So just kind of understanding that it's not as noticeable on the weekdays, because the demand is a little bit less. Typically, now with COVID, that has probably completely changed. It has with other clubs. And when we open, it's a good possibility it will change here as well, because the availability, for people to play, more people aren't working, more people are not traveling. There's going to be an expectation that it's going to be a little bit busier all the time than we're typical the last few years. So that's number one. We at this point, just so you guys are aware, are not even sure at what point we're going to even allow guests to play at Pinebrook. So if we don't have an access to tee issue, then guests will be as per usual. But if we have an access to tee issue where we're having trouble because of the high demand on the tee sheet, that we're having trouble getting all of just our members playing at a reasonable time that they're requesting, then it might be a week or 2 or 3 or who knows at this point, because it's so unknown, before we even allow guests on ballots. So I'm just kind of giving you some possibilities. We're fortunate, actually, if there was ever a year that we open late for construction, and not really having to worry about opening till the middle of June, it's probably a blessing in disguise, actually, because we're not going to be dealing with some of the issues that a lot of the other clubs are struggling with right now. So by the time we open, we're hoping some things settle down. Days are getting longer, so there is more tee times available because we can start earlier, finish later, that sort of stuff. So I think we're going to be very fortunate and kind of get the best of both worlds there. But I just wanted to bring that sort of that whole ballot process, kind of understanding it a little bit better as to how that works. And then, like I said, going back to the demand on weekdays, typically weekdays, because it's a little bit less of demand, you're more apt to get closer to your time of request on a weekday than typically you would be on a weekend, just because of that reason. Now, obviously, like I said, things might change. Hard to say what'll happen, but it is based on priority. Oversubscribed blocks of time get sorted by priority, and that's just it's really important for you guys to understand that. So anybody has any questions, give me a call, and I can explain that a little bit more clearly.
Can I ask you one quick question, Shelley, just on that?
Sure.
It's not necessarily related to juniors, so apologize for that, but since you brought it up, I wanted to ask it. So within the priority levels, is there, when the allocations happen and you've got oversubscription among members of similar priority, is there an inside algorithm that randomizes that to some extent? Because historically, I've noticed, and others have noticed as well, that it's the same names that sort of drop into certain timeframes, and your requests are often 3-4 hours away from what you originally requested, and the same names always show up in the lower higher demand hours. So is that just by fluke, or is there some randomized process to deal with that?
If you're speaking of, I guess if I understand your question correctly, if you're referring to, say, ballots with primaries, or are you kind of referring to ballots with a mixture of categories on?
No. I was talking about of similar priorities. So you've got a bunch of demand, similar times, all of people with similar priorities. So, how does the system deal with that? Because historically, names have showed up in similar places. We've got a lot of retired golfers that golf a lot, so their names tend to show up in the best of times, and you always get a 3 or 4 hour gap between your time that you requested versus what you've got, even though you have the same priority level as those that are falling into the better spot. So I was just wondering, given that you're giving your explanation on how the balloting process works, inside of that, is there a randomization process, is what I was.
Yes, there certainly is supposed to be. And so one of my jobs when I do run the ballots every day is to kind of review, and in every situation, anytime somebody gets a ballot time outside of 1.5 to 2 hours of their request, and I'm going to say on a normal day, meaning, spring and fall are different because of shorter days, less tee times, that sort of stuff, due to frost, that sort of thing. But on a normal tee sheet day, if there's flags, if somebody goes out or gets a time outside of that 90 minutes to 120 minutes outside of their time. Right. So that's usually brought to my attention if there's obviously no computer glitches.
And the system's not managing that independently, then it's flagged and shown to you, so you deal with it rather than the system kind of making sure that the same names aren't dropping into the same place all the time?
Well, no, there is a logarithm that allows for, if I just don't know what it is off the top of my head, but if something happens that player, whatever, ballot A is the same ballot every week or whatever, and they let's say they got their time 2 or 3 times in a row or whatever it is, there is a balancing system. I just don't know what it is unless I go into the guts of this thing and pull it out as to how they're doing that. But there is built-in algorithms for a certain time frame outside of your ballot request as to getting an opportunity to make sure that that improves as you get outside that, so you don't get outside that time week after week after week, I guess.
Right,
is
okay, that's what I was getting to. So
yeah.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah, for sure.
Just going to introduce Wade real quick since he's back up from the range. Here's Wade.
Hi, everybody.
Wade comes to us as a longtime professional. Lots of, like Mike had said before, lots of experience teaching, lots of experience in the golf business. So we're really happy that we're all together.
Yeah.
So thanks. Thank you. Any other questions before we end today?
I have one question.
Yeah.
With the Pinebrook app, is there a place on it where you can actually keep the score and then it automatically submits, or do you have to go into the Canada? Okay, golf.
Yeah, Mike, I think the app can take you to the Golf Canada website that you would have to log into to then post your score.
Are there any apps that will do it for you? Because I've gone to other golf courses and they'll have an app that you can download and it tracks your score and then it will post, or is that not something that we have?
I might not be able to speak to that as well as Shelly or Mike.
Okay.
Programs you guys
The only
have.
thing I can add to that is that there's a ton of different apps that you can have access to. There's some apps that, like you said, you can keep your score. There's apps that have the GPS right on the app. Depending on, with our app, it is directly tied with our whole golf management program that we use internally for everything. So is it maybe the best app? Probably not. It's improving. There's updates, things like that. Currently, right now, it doesn't have that ability. Not to say that it won't. And the only reason, as I said, that we use that app is because it is directly, like, you'll notice that you can check things like your account and all that sort of stuff. So it is directly integrated with the system that we're using. It's part of it. Whereas other standalone third-party apps might do other things, but then they don't have that sort of link where it ties into everything from your purchases to your account balances to all that. So it's kind of a trade-off as to some of the things that we get that we like. We're always putting in requests for different things for them to kind of improve on and that sort of stuff. So that's kind of where we are with that. Currently, that app with North Star doesn't do that. It has been requested, and I do believe we have an update coming, and within the next month, and I just am unaware if this will be added to that or not. So, but you will have a different looking app here in a little bit as well once the upgrade occurs. So that's kind of all I can speak to with that at this point.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. I think that might be it for questions. So yeah, thanks everyone for joining us in the Zoom meeting. I know it's a bit different. I'm a really big people person. I'm a phone talker. I don't like texting or emailing. So if you're like me and you like phone chatting, call me anytime. So other than that, just thanks to Shelly for coming in. Mike, thanks for all the stuff you do, showing everyone that. So thank you. We hope to see everyone out here really, really soon. So
See everybody soon.
Thanks, guys.
see ya.
Thanks, Reed. Thanks, Shelley.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just see ya.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. See you.
She's waiting for love.